My name is Elena, and I'm 26 years old. The moment my life turned upside down started on what should have been an ordinary Tuesday morning. I was standing in my kitchen making coffee when my phone buzzed. At first, I ignored it. I assumed it was another promotional notification from my bank. But when I glanced down at the screen, the message made my stomach twist instantly. Your credit score has significantly changed. That alone was strange. My credit had always been excellent. I paid every bill early and rarely used credit cards. So I opened my banking app. And that's when the ground seemed to disappear beneath me. My credit score had dropped by more than 200 points overnight. Confused, I opened the loans section of my account. At first, I assumed it was a technical glitch. But then the numbers loaded, and my hands started shaking. There were multiple loans attached to my name. Not one. Several. A personal loan. Another personal loan. A line of credit. And a financing agreement. Together, they totaled $89,000. I had never applied for any of them. My heart started racing so fast I had to sit on the kitchen floor just to breathe. The only explanation that made sense was terrifying. Someone had stolen my identity. But within the next hour, I would learn something even worse. Because when the bank told me the phone number connected to one of the applications, my entire world stopped. I spent the next hour calling every bank connected to those loans. Every conversation followed the same pattern. The agents verified my information. They checked the applications. Then they confirmed the worst possible news. The loans were legitimate. They had been approved using my ID, my signature, my personal information. Everything looked authentic. Except for one problem. I had never signed anything. Then during one call, a customer service agent casually read the contact number attached to the application. The number sounded familiar. Too familiar. I asked her to repeat it, and my heart dropped. It was my younger sister's phone number. Sophie. A few months earlier, Sophie had asked if she could use pictures of my driver's license. She said she lost hers temporarily and needed ID for a rental form. I didn't think twice. She was my sister. Of course, I trusted her. But suddenly, that memory felt completely different. Because the realization hit me like a lightning strike. My sister didn't just borrow my ID. She used it. And she had taken out $89,000 in loans under my name. But discovering that wasn't even the worst moment of that day. Because when I confronted my parents, their reaction shocked me even more. And what my father said next made me realize this wasn't just my sister's idea. I drove straight to my parents' house. During the drive, I kept hoping there had been some mistake. Maybe Sophie had been tricked. Maybe someone else used her phone. But when I walked into the kitchen, she was already sitting at the table. And she didn't look nervous. She looked calm. Too calm. I placed the printed loan statements on the table. My voice trembled when I spoke. Sophie, these loans are under my name. My mother glanced at the papers and sighed like I had just complained about something minor. Then she said something that stunned me. She needed help more than you. I thought I had misheard. But then my father leaned forward and said something even worse. If you go to the police, we'll say you gave her permission. Just like that. Cold. Confident. Prepared. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. They already knew. But what happened next proved they had been planning this conversation all along. I turned toward Sophie, expecting her to deny everything. Or at least apologize. Instead, she slowly picked up a folded sheet of paper from the table. Then she started reading. Not naturally. Not emotionally. Like someone reading lines from a script. She said things like, Elena agreed to help me during a financial emergency. And the loans were part of a family understanding. That's when it clicked. This wasn't her explanation. This was a script. My parents had literally written a speech for her to read if I confronted them. My father sat there with his arms crossed. My mother kept repeating the same phrase. Family helps family. Meanwhile, the debt collectors would eventually come for me. Not Sophie. For a moment, I felt completely trapped. But then something strange happened. Sophie's hands started shaking. And she kept glancing toward the hallway behind me. Confused, I turned around. And that's when everything changed. Because standing in that doorway were two people my parents never expected to hear this conversation. Standing there were my cousin Daniel and his wife Clara. They were holding grocery bags and looked completely frozen. Apparently, they had stopped by unexpectedly, and they had just heard my sister reading the entire script. The room went silent. Daniel slowly set the bags down on the counter. Then he looked at my father. Did she just say she used Elena's identity for $90,000? My mom immediately tried to interrupt, saying everyone misunderstood, claiming it was a private family situation. But it was too late. Because Daniel worked in corporate compliance. His job literally involved investigating financial fraud. And he had just heard a confession. Then he asked the one question nobody else in that house had asked me. Daniel walked over and picked up the paper Sophie had been reading. He scanned it silently. Then he looked directly at me. Elena, did you approve any of these loans? My answer came instantly. No. That single word changed everything. My father tried repeating his earlier threat. But Daniel actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was ridiculous. You realize this document makes things worse, right? He said. Then he took a picture of the script with his phone. My parents immediately protested. But it was too late. Evidence had already been captured. And suddenly the balance of power in the room shifted completely. For hours I had been the one feeling pressured and threatened. But now there were witnesses. Real witnesses. Sophie suddenly started crying. She said she thought it was okay because our parents promised everything would work out. Daniel calmly explained something my parents clearly hadn't considered. Identity theft involving nearly $90,000 wasn't a misunderstanding. It was fraud. And now people had heard everything. For the first time that day, I felt relief. And a few minutes later, I made the decision my parents thought I would never make. I picked up the stack of loan papers. My father demanded to know where I was going. I looked back at the kitchen. Then I said calmly, I'm fixing what you broke. And I walked out. A few minutes later, Daniel followed me outside. He told me if I reported the fraud, he would confirm everything he heard. That moment meant everything. Because suddenly I wasn't alone anymore. And over the next week, the truth started catching up with everyone involved. I filed identity theft reports with the banks, submitted statements, provided copies of the documents, and explained the script Sophie had read. Once lenders realized there were witnesses, the investigation moved quickly. Soon investigators contacted my sister, and suddenly my parents started calling nonstop, begging me to resolve it privately. But that option had disappeared the moment they used my name for those loans. Then one final message from Sophie proved just how badly their plan had failed. The last text Sophie sent before investigators contacted her was simple. She wrote, I never thought the script would backfire. But lies always collapse when the wrong people hear them. My parents thought they had created the perfect pressure tactic. Instead, that same script became the evidence that exposed everything. And their entire plan fell apart. All because my sister read her prepared speech to the wrong room. If this story shocked you and you want to hear more jaw-dropping real-life revenge stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode of Elena's Revenge Chronicles.